Hi, I'm Mary Giuliano. Thanks for joining me. And with me today is Len Vaness. And I think all local people know who Len is. Len, thank you for being here.
Pardon me. Thank you for inviting me, Mary.
Now, I know you were a teacher.
Yes?
Did you teach in Fernie ever?
No.
No.
Well, coaching students who needed to improve their
help?
marks.
Oh, okay. So you did tutoring.
Thank you. That was the word I was searching for.
You also own the famous Hosmer Inn.
Or infamous, yes.
Infamous? Well, I didn't want to use that word, but it's certainly well known.
Yes.
And you are really well known for being the real Santa Claus.
Well, it goes back a long way to the wardroom in Esquimalt. There were two portly officers. One was a lieutenant commander, and I was only a lieutenant. So I was chosen to be Santa Claus.
Ah.
And one thing I recall from that first was they wanted Santa to host the Hong Kong vets. And perhaps 10 of them showed up at the wardroom. And one old fella sat on my knee, and after listening to his story, I said, well, we have a gift for you. And one of Santa's helpers whispered in his ear and said, we don't. He was a last-minute addition. And I said, that cannot be, and the old fellow said, see, I knew it. I knew everything would go wrong. I knew it. I said, just hush, hush. Do we have something? And somebody ripped a card off and put a new name on it and gave it to him. And his whole attitude changed. There were almost tears in his eyes as he said, thank you, Santa.
Oh.
And that hooked me.
Uh-huh.
From that point on, as often as people required a Santa, I volunteered.
You were there.
But I do remember that. That was touching.
And how long ago was that?
Oh my goodness.
40 plus years? More?
42 years.
42 years.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, indeed. I would like to be able to turn white naturally. It saves all the bleaching.
Oh yeah, because you do that. You become suddenly white around this time of the year.
Like
Except that your beard's a little bit shorter this year. And so's your hair.
Well, you should see it on, this year it won't be Christmas Day. It'll be Christmas Day Eve, the evening of Christmas Day. This all comes off.
Why?
Because I don't want to confuse children after Christmas.
Oh, I see. So you shave it all off?
Well, not all of it.
Oh.
Just the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I re-dye the beard a bit, and my eyebrows, so they may have questions, but they can't be sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, because you certainly fooled my little ones afterwards. They didn't know it was you.
Good.
Mm-hmm. So we started off saying that you were a teacher. Did you teach for a long time, Len?
No, only about, I guess, 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay. When did you move to Fernie? Or Hosmer?
After my 4th or 5th year of teaching.
Oh,
okay. I was up near Yellowknife, and on TV I saw On the Road Again with their host who was
I remember that show.
And they showed the Hosmer election.
Oh, yeah.
So it occurred to me that I really didn't like staying in so much winter. So I phoned Neil Thompson down here and asked if there was a home for sale somewhere near, and sure enough there was. So I finished teaching and moved down here and bought a hotel to keep me occupied.
Ah,
It's a lot different on the bar side of the bar as opposed to the table side of the bar.
what do you mean by that?
I don't drink anymore.
Oh, I see, okay.
And that's about it, and I don't smoke either.
Well, that's good, it's good for your health.
He says, reminding himself that he did smoke.
When I first met you, you had a show on Monarch television, which on the community channel, and I recall that you invited me to come on your show, which was Lunch with Len, and so I think I owe it to you that I ended up doing the show that I did for almost 12 years.
Well, I'm certainly pleased that you blame me for your success. But,
Well, I recall that day we had a very nice lunch because you used to prepare the lunch.
oh yes.
And
do
we
you
had some
remember-
nice conversation.
Aside from the conversation, which I'm sure you can't recall, do you remember the menu?
All I can remember is that it tasted good
Thank you.
and that I had brought some Italian panettone or some Italian goodie.
Yes.
And you said, Mary, I can't eat it because I'm diabetic. And I said, oh, well, I'm so sorry, because I thought, here I am contributing to the lunch. But I do recall that it was a delicious lunch because I ate a lot of it.
Well, I remember once cooking up some duck, and it was very dry. And when I took a mouthful, I didn't have any water, so I had to get rid of it into my serviette,
Oh boy.
which, of course, didn't do a great deal to tell folks how good my cooking was.
Well, thankfully it was good the day I was there. But I remember, as I said, that's when I met Ken Odland, and then afterwards, so that had to be like 1996, 97.
That goes back.
Yeah. How long did you have your show? Quite a while.
Maybe a year, perhaps 2 years.
Yeah, I think a couple of years.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because in 1998, I coordinated the Festa Italiana, and I borrowed my brother's video camera and taped like 30 hours of all the events because it was a year-long event. And then because I had met Ken, the manager, on your program, he said, Mary, I can take that and the students from the school that are working with me, and I will shorten that to a 2-hour thing that we could play. And that's exactly what they did. They shortened it to 2 hours, and then he played it many, many times on the community channel.
Well, I remember he went to buy land back east, somewhere in the prairies,
Yeah,
to
in
raise cattle.
Saskatchewan. Yeah,
And that was about the last time
Yeah.
I had lunch with Len. 'Cause I couldn't run the camera and be at the table.
yeah, right. Because that's too when Shaw took over Monarch. So
Right.
yeah, and so Ken left before Shaw because he said he could see the writing on the wall that Shaw would probably bring its own people in. So he went to Saskatchewan, to Wolseley actually, and he opened up a radio station along with his farm.
Good for him.
Yes, and so Stuart Deacon, you remember Stuart Deacon? He worked for social services.
I remember there was a Professor Tomato who used to run around
Oh, well,
the station.
I don't know if they called him that, but he had his arm kind of in a sling because of a
yes,
motorcyclist.
yes, I remember him.
Yeah, so
Two
Stuart,
different people.
yeah, so Stuart and I provided some material for Ken on his radio station. So we did that for a few months.
Excellent.
Yeah, until Stuart moved away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, those were good times. But I thought my program would be over, but Shaw decided that they would keep it going. So that was nice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it also speaks to the quality you gave it.
Well, I was able to get a lot of people who were comfortable sitting in my kitchen, and I did ply them with coffee, tea, and desserts. So maybe that made a difference.
That certainly could have, and certainly gave it local color.
Well, there was a lot of local issues and local people that were on that program. And, you know, not only local, but even people from out of town that were able to come and take advantage. You know, it was a fun thing. And just like I'm sure you found that program fun for you too. Except you had to cook and I didn't have to.
Well, I remember Charlie Fink showed up one day, and I expected to hear stories from him because he's been a long-time resident of the area, and all he did was eat.
Oh, and he didn't talk?
Couldn't get him to talk.
Oh, gee. Yeah, there's nothing worse than having a guest that wouldn't talk. Although I was pretty lucky with I can't even think of one guest that wasn't cooperating and talking with me.
But Charlie sure liked the cooking, and I guess he was hungry.
Mm-hmm. But tell us about some of those elections, Hosmer elections that happened in the bar.
Well, let's see. We had the youngest, Carter Follett, and we had a lady from Newfoundland win in absentia.
Oh.
And we had a fellow from Maryland? No, Massachusetts.
Ah.
Also win in absentia, but they kept phoning their votes in.
Oh, yeah.
And we received a check in the mail later, and yes, he won handily.
Didn't you have a dog that won once or twice?
Just once for sure,
once?
a beagle.
Mm. Is that when they did the program?
No.
No?
No, but they did mention
The dog once.
yes.
Because I saw that program too.
Granville was the dog's name.
Oh, Granville.
Well, wait a minute. Perhaps they did. No. They elected Charlie Fink that night, and somebody wanted a recount, and somebody else ate all the ballots, so that there couldn't be a recount.
So no wonder you made the news.
And indeed, I had CBC phone me up and ask me about the election once, and it did make it into Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Did it?
Yes.
It seems kind of sad sometimes now that, you know, that doesn't happen in Hosmer anymore.
Well,
I know, everything changes.
but it's such a beautiful valley.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see why somebody doesn't just buy it up and make it some sort of gated community for skiing, all for at least 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm. You know, the Fink family lived in Hosmer for years. Is there anybody left of the Finks in Hosmer?
No, not in Hosmer. I don't even think in the valley. I don't think. I haven't heard of them.
And, you know, they were winning all the time. I think, was it Charlie that won many times?
Yes, and his mother once.
Yeah, his mom.
Supported by the regional district.
Ah,
They kicked in $100 on her behalf.
wow.
And all that money went to the fire department.
Uh-huh.
But since the fire department is now,
Yeah, under the regional district.
it no longer needs that sort of support.
Mm-hmm. What has kept you in this valley, in Hosmer actually?
Well, if you exclude the 3 overseas trips, the beauty of the valley, as I say, it is one of the prettiest I've ever seen in my travels. It's remarkable. It's green.
Where were you just? You were away somewhere just recently.
Tahiti.
What? You were in Tahiti?
Tahiti. Yes. Palm trees, palm shrubs, palm grass. A baobab, no, banyan tree. A banyan tree has limbs that grow out and then tendrils drop from the limbs. And at one place you could see where someone had braided them. But if you looked at the older ones, these tendrils came down and formed one and became another trunk to support the weight of the limb.
Wow.
And thus the tree was able to keep on expanding. But if you looked out your window, it was very much like Jurassic Park. Just beautiful green, the blue of the ocean, the roar of the breakers on the barrier reef, and a land crab. I saw a land crab one evening.
What, walking on the beach?
Well, no, very close to the highway.
Really?
Yes. Winkle, wiggle.
Yeah, we're going to take a little break.
Okay.
This
Breathing.
Wow.
And on occasion, I imagine the rain helps them.
That must have been quite unusual, seeing that crab
Yes.
close to the highway.
And I speak a smattering of French. I went inside to ask at the counter about this crustacien avec les gros pinces.
Mm.
And she said, oh, a crabe de terre. I didn't know French for crab was crab.
So she said that was a
land crab.
A land crab.
Crabe de terre.
Huh, I didn't know there was such a thing either.
Oh, yes, yes.
Are they edible?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I think it'd be a shame to eat something that you see so rarely.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
But apparently they cross the roads as they scamper off into the jungle. And they stop traffic to let them cross.
Huh. So that must have been hard to leave that beautiful place.
I think I mentioned that on
Yes, you did.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And some people believed that I was serious when I said it was so nice to get back to the valley. No, it was much better there.
I got it.
Yes,
I got it. I said,
it was much better there.
yeah. Well, having it nice and warm and sunny and
Cool breezes, a
yeah,
little bit of
palm
rain.
trees. My goodness.
Apparently they have an epidemic of measles in Samoa now.
Of what?
Measles.
Measles. Oh, wait a minute. I think I did see something about that. That's too bad.
Fortunately, I had it, but which makes me think I'm probably a candidate for shingles.
Well, they say anybody who's had chicken pox is a candidate for shingles in
Had that
later
too.
life.
Had that too.
Yeah.
I've had all sorts of things that would kill most people. Pleurisy, pneumonia, polio.
Polio.
Oh yes. I was the third diagnosed case in one air div when my parents were over there. My father was in the Air Force. And we were at one wing and we were there for a weekend and I was hospitalized. And the two before me were both adults and were both iron lung cases. The only thing I can see is perhaps my arms are a bit shorter than they should be,
So that's the only effect.
as far as
After
I can
effect.
see.
Oh, wow. You were fortunate.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
There are many things that should have killed me, but missed.
Well, you come into Fernie all the time. Well,
Daily.
so in your
Twice daily sometimes.
okay, so in all these years that
That's
you've
just a
been
dig.
here, yeah, what do you like or don't like about the changes? And what have you noticed?
Well, living where I live, the only changes I could see would perhaps be Extra Foods, which isn't named Extra Foods anymore,
Yeah, independent store.
and Canadian Tire, because everything else seems to be pretty much the way it was when I left here when I was, 35. Very much, I don't see much in the way of changes.
No.
But you study it much more closely than I.
Well, I was raised here, and there was nothing here except
Well,
the
the ski
Diamond
hill.
Grill. Oh well, not even the ski hill. at
Right,
first.
there was, but it was a tow rope.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have all the nice fast food places, and we certainly didn't have, excuse me, overweighty or save-on foods. No,
No, I remember the argument on colors to get McDonald's in, to allow McDonald's
Yeah.
to open. Yes, the 2 coffee shops surrounding it weren't here.
Yeah,
There was that grill, I think, sort of across from the Park Place. There was a restaurant there.
yeah, there was a place there. But it wasn't across from the Park Place, was it?
Well, on that,
Or a little
in
bit
that rough
further down?
area,
There's a whole lot more now than there used to be, that's for sure.
but it's gradual enough that I'm a poor person to ask about it.
Why?
Because it's so gradual, I don't pay attention.
Oh, okay. So obviously nothing is bothering you about the changes.
I wouldn't think so.
Because, you know, there are people who didn't like the tourism part of it and the visitors coming in.
Well, I am a little disappointed that if you have a building in Fernie proper, at least on 2nd Avenue, you have to check to see if the colors are approved by City Council. That to me seems to be a tad wrong.
Excuse me. But that was because the councils wanted a more uniform look so that it wouldn't be like in some places you get yellow, green, you know, whatever. So Fernie has more of a kind of a calm, collective look, so that, you know, the colors for the buildings do have, not for homes, but
Right,
for businesses have
Yes.
to be in the color scheme that the city people put up.
Right.
So it gives it a more calmer appearance, because the colors are more subdued than,
All right, yes.
because think about it, if every building was, it would be like a kaleidoscope, like a rainbow,
And
which
then-
is not terrible, but
Say, I'm not sure that.
but we're in the mountains, so we're trying to keep a look that goes with the nature, with the colors of nature.
I've often wondered about putting a roof over a couple of blocks of 2nd Avenue and putting a mezzanine walkway around so people can open more stores on the 2nd floor.
We thought about that. We thought about closing, but they're a big, huge outcry, because Fernie's main street
Well, see,
is only really about 3 to 5 blocks of businesses.
but I wasn't talking about closing that off.
Mm-hmm.
Simply putting a roof over
Ah,
so that your pedestrian traffic both below and on the walk around,
Oh,
as
I
you see in
see.
malls.
not closing it off, just having a roof to protect the walkers.
And then you open up stores on the 2nd floor.
Hmm.
A thought.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty expensive one.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine that would be a bit pricey. When you met some of, like, the Finks, did they ever tell you stories about Hosmer the way it used to be? Because at one time Hosmer had quite a population.
Larger than Fernie at one time. And Charlie Fink's mother was the postmistress for Hosmer for a while. And of course, Happy Valley was the red light district.
Where is Happy Valley?
That's down off the highway, down to the left over the
That's
creek.
what it's called? And so
When the trains used to go through, that was a red light district, and that's
So
why it was
Hosmer
called
had a red light district?
Happy
Wow.
Valley. Why else would you think they'd call it Happy Valley?
Uh-huh. I've seen photos of hotels, like, you know, quite more than one hotel, and it showed like a bustling area. And that was due to coal mining.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, they still have the cook ovens there, and an entrance to the attic. It's badly worn and deteriorated, but it was poured concrete.
Yeah, they've got some beautiful buildings there, you know, only walls standing, but really nice. And we've had people having their marriages being performed in there.
Excellent.
Was that, do we need to stop? Oh, okay.
Pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of things that you might remember, or you know, just information that people might have told you about the area, Hosmer, Fernie, you know, because you know Fernie and you live in Hosmer.
Well, Bert Eccles is pretty much the historian for Hosmer. He and Neil Thompson are friends, so they share information a lot. As a matter of fact, one of or both of those gentlemen might be appropriate guests for a future show.
I'll remember that. I know Neil. I don't know Bert as well, but
He used to be engineer for Sparwood.
yeah,
City engineer.
but I know who he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's good to hear, you know, we're doing this project because we're trying to document memories of the way the area was from the residents that live here now, just so that for future generations it's there. Because I always thought, how wonderful would that be if 100 years ago there were, you know, conversations like this where you'd get an idea of what the people were like that lived here, what they did, and, you know, what was important. And that's what I should ask you.
I've given you the names you got to get to.
Yeah, okay. But let me say a little bit about you because, you know, I don't know if we discussed this already now as Len, you've done this job of being Santa Claus for 40 plus years.
Yes, yes.
And you've made a lot of people happy.
Well, you might question that when you see some toddlers break into tears as they sit on my lap.
Well, there are some little kids that are afraid of Santa, but hey, the ones that I have always had were pretty happy to be around Santa. And even my mature children now still love you as Santa.
Well, that's very nice. On Wednesday, I had a little girl quietly come up and sit on my lap, and after about 2 minutes, she started to sob. And all my hugging and everything couldn't stop her. She went down and sat on one of the ladies' knees and was still sobbing. And I thought she was just very brave to come in the very first place if she was that worried. That's one of the ones that will stand out.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a very kind heart, Len, and you really don't say enough about yourself, but I will say it for you because I remember your kindness when my young daughter was in need of a kidney and you offered. And that was very kind of you. That was more than kind.
But in retrospect, the doctors would have looked at my kidney and said, I don't think anybody should have this.
Well, the point was, though, you cared enough to offer, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I'm very impressed with Nick Sr.
Thank you.
You've made a good choice. He has made a fine choice.
Yeah, he's turned out to be a good guy.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, I think I should head to Santa's Workshop South, if you don't mind.
No, and I certainly appreciate you being here. It's great having you as Len and as Santa. And so I just want to thank you, Len, so much for the great guy that you are and for the service that you've been providing our area with the work you do as Santa. And thank you all for joining us.
It pales in comparison to the community service you still do?
Oh, I
You
don't know.
do it, oh, you are very involved with the welfare of the community.
I tried.
You
I
do a
like
fine job.
to, and I don't even think about it, you know, I just do what I do.
But that's, you shouldn't have to think about it. I mean, you just pointed out the essence of being good.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
So, that's
Again,
her?
again, my apologies for the wrong information. I don't know. I hope that it was just spell check and I did that, but if I had gone back and, usually I go back and I send a reminder again with the address, and just to remind people. But with you, I was so positive. I said, Len is not going to stand me up. I don't have to remind him. And so I didn't check.
Well, I did check.
Yeah, you checked, but I gave you the wrong information. I gave you the wrong information.
There